experiences. Now for the last activity we're going to do, we need to take these down. And we will have our own problem-solving meeting. So as a class, we will work together to solve a problem, okay? But first, we're gonna make a list of some problems. So think about the story we read, think about the problems you shared, and I want you to tell me if there are any problems from the story that are similar to problems you have. Have any of these problems happened to you in your life?
Similar to the story to some extent, that when they're in the part where there are glass falling down, the paper all over the trees, I can see that in the place where I live, there sometimes are too many garbage as well, that I feel like that the community is not clean. And yeah, I can see papers on the street, which is similar to the situation in the story.
So Jiren shared that in her community, there was once garbage on the street. Okay, what other problems can we think of that happened to you that you noticed in the book?
One summer, our climate is changing, and we had a really, really dry spell. And people normally have gardens and they turn on the sprinkler and the water just waters and nobody pays attention to how much water they're using or what is really going on. And so that time, everybody really had to work together, and we were very, very careful about watering either early in the morning before the sun came up, or and then sometimes after the sun went down, so that the water would stay in the ground and nourish the plants.
Okay, so before we start solving the problems, let's keep thinking about some more ideas here, because I want you to solve with your group.
Oh.
So what Sally said is that there was a lot of dry weather. So they were trying not to use much water, not using too much water. What other problems can we think of?
Well, in the story, there are children dropping out of school. In our community, I'm not so sure, but I see there are students struggling in the school and they are having difficulty passing the exams.
All right, so we have so Jiren shared that in her community and where she goes to school, a lot of times students are really struggling. So maybe they're not dropping out of school like we saw in the book, but they're just having a really hard time. All right, so let's think about these problems. Do any of them seem similar? Or any of them could be the same? Or can any of them be connected?
I think the first two are more related because it's about the environmental issues.
Okay. So Jingren said, I don't know if you can see, maybe the first two, because they're related to the environment. So we have a lot of garbage out on the street and on the sidewalk. And then we also have some really dry weather. So those are both related to the areas that we live. All right. Now I want you to look at these problems and let's choose one altogether. So maybe we can have someone share what idea is their favorite or what one they'd like to focus on. Let's try to choose one altogether. So we have garbage on the street, dry weather and not using water, and students struggling in school. Which ones would you like to look at? We can do a vote.
Well, I could go volunteer in a school since I'm a teacher and help there, but we might be able to involve more people and make a difference in the environmental one at the top.
Okay, so maybe you're thinking one of the first two could have a lot of people. Jungyeon, which problem would you like to look at?
Yeah, I also prefer the first one because I think it affects everyone's life, no matter what context they are in.
Sally, what do you think? Do you like the first one? Do you agree that we can look at this problem together? Okay, great. So let's look at the first problem, garbage on the street, which is related to the environment that you live. Now, I want you to talk with your group, talk with your partner, and try to find a solution. Try to find a way to make it better, to solve the problem. Okay? So we're all going to look at the same problem, but different groups might come up with different ideas or different solutions. And that's okay. We can have more than one because we'll all work together. All right. So I would like you to choose a solution and think about how will it happen? Who do you need to help? What resources do you need? Think really deeply about how you can make it work. Okay? Any questions? So you're going to think of a solution and you're going to think about how to make it actually happen. Who needs to help? How much money will it cost? All of that. Okay? So you have about 5 minutes to think with your group, and then we'll come back together and have our solutions. Okay?
Are there kids in your neighborhood or in your area that you could convince them to come with you to pick up some stuff on just your street?
Yeah, I think that can work. Not only, I think the kids might be more available compared to some adults who are so used to the garbage and are quite passive. I don't know, I feel like, but I agree that we can advocate more people, teenagers especially, to involve in the project of, for example, launching a campaign to collect garbage on a mountain, or make it a hiking event that we are doing a hiking, but while we are hiking, we collect garbage. So make it fun. In that way, more people will be willing to join, but at the same time doing something good for the environment.
I'm thinking, what if you're out hiking, which really sounds like fun, what are you going to do with the garbage that you collect? Well, we got to put it into something.
That's a good question. I feel like that we might need a guide, that we might need an expert who knows about the how to kind of put the garbage into different categories, and to give the attendees some basic information and even a lecture about the impact of the garbage to the world, and also how to separate them into different categories, and if not, what might be the implications. So I would suggest to recruit some experts and to ask them to lead the team.
1 more minute. So remember to think about costs and people and your solution, and you'll share out with everybody. 1 more minute.
Okay, practically speaking, how are you going to carry the garbage?
Using a...
That's one of the things. Do you have bags? I think it's a good idea because you'll find all kinds of stuff to sort it and group it, because you have to dispose of it, some of the stuff differently. But if it's out on a hiking trail, how are you going to get it back?
Like, we can ask them to prepare the bag in advance. Like, we can even have a mini lecture before they head off on the mountain, that some lecture, like we can organize a small lesson, crash lesson, and to remind them the things that they need to prepare before they go on to the hiking. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah, some kind of a bag. I don't know what's available. I mean, plastic bags, cloth bags, baskets.
All right, sorry to interrupt, but we're going to share our ideas now. If you're not fully finished, that's okay. We can talk about it more in the next class. That's all right. But I would like from each group, can one person present their solution to the problem, to the garbage in the street problem?
So Sally and I are thinking of a hiking plan.
Okay.
But while hiking, collecting garbage on the hiking trail. So the personnel that we need are volunteers, probably children or teenagers, because they are more easily to be motivated. And it's good to kind of develop their environmental awareness from the young age. So on one hand are the volunteers, on the other hand are the experts that we need for a crash course before they start, so that students can, the volunteers can understand the impact of the garbage. And also Sally made a really good point about what if they don't know how to, what to do with the garbage, what to prepare to carry the garbage, and how do they know how to separate the garbage into different categories. So we think that we might need the experts to give a lecture before they head off to the hiking trail.
All right, that sounds like a good idea. So we're going to do a little hike or a walk through the trail or through the community, and have some volunteers and teenagers collect the garbage. And then maybe we have some experts or teachers who help share a lesson before about how to do it and what to expect. That sounds like a good idea. And it seemed like I heard you were talking before time right now about what materials you might need, of how you're going to collect the garbage. So that's something to keep thinking about, is what will you need to collect the garbage? Okay, so that's a really good idea. So if we had more students in our class, I would add some more ideas, but since it's just us, then that's the only idea we have, but I love it. So thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed listening to our book, Decision. And hopefully next time when you have to make a decision, you'll make the right one, and you'll have a community of people to help you. So you're not all by yourself. Okay, thank you.